This is Border Battle with King and CJ. With King.
You want to go get a hot dog at halftime? Well, guess what? You can also take the under in the second half of 25. You know what I mean?
And CJ.
You can win Super Bowls right now with me and Grandpa Brady over here. Let's do it that way.
Presented by the fine students and faculty of the Oklahoma State University School of Media and Strategic Communications in beautiful Paul Miller Building. Broadcast live on KXZY OSU Student Radio. And now, live from Studio 318, it's Border Battle with Jordan, the Great King, and CJ, the Viking Notch.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in Paul Miller Building at Oklahoma State University. Breaking news, Chris, this just in. No school today.
Yeah, no school. Who'd have thunk it?
Okay, well, for the morning classes, sorry about that. You had to brave it out, get out of bed, unfortunately. Couldn't hit the alarm clock. But starting at 12:30, campus is closed again. Closed down early yesterday.
Right. Kind of the joy to you and I coming from Minnesota, Wisconsin, respectively. Like, this is what we did every day.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's homey weather for us.
Yeah.
This, it makes me...
We try and get away from this weather, and yet here it's following us around.
Yeah, well, in my 2 years here, and I know you've been down here for 2 years as well, I think this is the first stretch of 3 days that we've had this kind of weather.
Yeah, for sure.
Like yesterday, my feet were soaked the entire day, and it reminded me of like sophomore and junior year at Wisconsin. Like,
just trapped into the snow.
That's just 3 months of the year. That's what it is.
And I get it. I know people might get upset. I get they don't have the resources like we do, but
and they shouldn't.
Right, and they shouldn't. But it's still funny to like us. You have to think from our perspective of like, oh, we deal with this every day. Driving is nothing.
Well, I mean, like I said yesterday, there's no reason for them to spend taxpayer money to be ready for something like this because it happens so infrequently.
No, right.
So and unfortunately, it did affect some sports around here. Baseball got postponed. We'll see about basketball tonight. I would guess that they would play. I believe Texas Tech is here, flew in last night or something like that. So I would guess that they'll play. Again, I have no inside knowledge of the situation, but that would be my guess that they would play tonight at Oklahoma State at GIA. Big game for them because obviously we're in just about win-out territory for the Cowboys, and then probably have to win a game or two in the Big 12 tournament to get in. So we'll get to that probably Friday. We'll get a little more update on the basketball team. Today we're going to talk a little bit of everything. We'll kind of get you updated on all of the professional sports. We'll start out with the MLB. First of all, though, Chris, I wanted to mention, do you have any thoughts on the United States hockey team? They lose yesterday 3-2. It was in a shootout. I think this was a pretty impressive couple days for that hockey team, considering the fact how poorly they played against the Olympic athletes of Russia. I thought it was a pretty impressive couple days. They beat Slovakia like 5-1, and then they take the Czech Republic to a shootout, and then just obviously lose there. So they're out before the medal rounds. But I still think there was some steps made here, all for naught, because it'll be a whole different group of guys at the next Olympics.
No, I totally agree. I think it was a good effort. You have to give them credit for the effort. The odds were stacked extremely high against them in the first place, and like you said, to lose in a shootout. I'd rather our team lose in a shootout than lose in a blowout, especially with that. Like I know they didn't have the hype, as past other teams because they're not NHL players, but to lose in a shootout at the same time you can't totally hang your head. You should kind of hold it high anyways because you're representing your country, but you're also like you lost in a shootout. I don't know. That's my 2 cents on it though.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I don't want to dwell on that at all. We talked a lot about the hockey team on Monday, so I don't think there's much really to say other than I thought these couple days was the best 2 days of the Olympics for this team in my opinion. So it was good to see that, and good for Wisconsin to get Tony Granato back on the sideline for them. So, Chris, let's talk about some baseball. We got some signings going on, some controversy, some war of words going on. We'll get to that in a second. First of all of these transactions, all these moves made by teams. What are your thoughts on say the Marlins? On everything that they're doing. You trade your starting outfield away, and all of them are darn near, if not all-stars, they're darn near all-star caliber players.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, and I don't want to get too much into the Marlins because I know we're going to kind of touch on that later on in the segment here. But I don't know what like an organization like that is doing. Are they really trying to like full rebuild? They want to get rid of anyone that has had success. I don't know. But like others, like when you look at others in the MLB, I think it's a great trade that the Twins did with Jake Odorizzi there. We need pitchers, and the Rays are kind of that same. The Rays are almost like the Marlins. They're just getting rid of, I get the cap space and all that. That's what they're doing this for. But yeah, I don't know. It's been a funky offseason to say the least so far in the
Out
MLB.
of all of those 6 transactions that we have up there, which team benefited the most?
The most. Wow, that's
because like obviously the Yankees get Giancarlo Stanton, that's a big deal. The Brewers needed a guy like Christian Yelich, and then they continue to bolster from there.
Yeah,
like Ozuna, like is he
right?
A premier
yeah, is he
guy?
gonna help the Cardinals with that or not?
How much of an impact is he gonna have when it comes to the Cardinals? I think you can make the case that like a JD Martinez for the Red Sox, who had a little bit of a down year last year, Eric Hosmer to the Padres, who's a guy that you can kind of
build around
to a certain extent, but like you have to be further along, as we were talking before the show. You have to be further along than the Royals are, and then like the Twins were probably a pitcher away last year
right.
from actually making noise in the playoffs. So I think they got significantly better as well. I don't know who the real winner is here. Do you have like a clear-cut winner?
If anything, it just depends on if we're talking right from the get-go or if later on. Because, to me, right now, like Eric Hosmer is a great, phenomenal player, but he's only one player. If the Padres don't build around him, then you can't. Baseball is such a team thing. It's not. You can't. Like, yes, you rely on like certain people, like your pitchers. You always rely on that guy, but at the end, everyone's got to hit. Everyone's got to do their job. I would say either like JD Martinez, maybe just because of his power. But yeah, I don't have like a clear cut. It's either the Brewers, Twins, or the Red Sox to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I mean Giancarlo Stanton is obviously a transcendent ball player. He hits home runs like we've never seen before, other than like Barry Bonds, and obviously asterisk next to his name a little bit. But yeah, he's like a transcendent power. But like you already had
Aaron Judge, Sanchez.
Like you had great players there. So I don't like he makes you better, yes. But does he make you? Is he as a big of improvement as Christian Yelich going to the Brewers and adding that bat to the Brewers lineup? I don't know if it is. And the Brewers are obviously still a pitcher away. That's important to remember in all of this. And a guy that it sounded like they were targeting, Chris Archer, also a Tampa Bay Ray. The Tampa Bay Rays said they're pretty much done now.
Right.
So
let me ask you this real quick, then we can get on. Do you think the Brewers, like, was that trade for Yelich a good trade, like, for who they got rid of? Do you feel like that was you were happy with that trade?
Absolutely. My friend says on Twitter, he said on Twitter right after it, he said, parades are cooler than prospects. Absolutely. You look at the Astros. The Astros, did they build around prospects? Yes, they did. But when they had to make this run to the World Series, what did they do right before the trade deadline? They got rid of prospects to go get who? Justin Verlander. And that's how you have to do it. You can't just like, oh, next year is going to be the year. Oh, 2 years from now, our young guys are great. Well, at some point you got to start winning. Or
right.
you don't put butts in the seats. And that's something that I think the Brewers had to do. You start freeing up cap space here. Obviously, you were able to go get Locane. And if you're going to go and pay $80 million for Lorenzo Cain, you have to surround him. You can't go out. It's like when you're a market the size of the Brewers or the size of the Tampa Bay Rays or something like that. Brewers' smallest market, I believe, in the MLB. When you have that small of a market, you can't just give $80 million to a guy and expect him to lead you. You have to, if you're going to splash the $80 million, you go all in. And right now, obviously, you trade for Yelich. They still have 5 starting caliber outfielders on their roster. They can't go into the season like that. They need to add another starting pitcher. Now, Arrieta's still out there, but he's a free agent. I would like to see him target someone in the trade. Who that is, I have no idea if it's not Chris Archer. So I do like the Brewers moves the Brewers made. I think they definitely made their roster better. So the other side of that Marlins thing is frustration with the fan base and getting rid of all their players and a new direction per se, and obviously spearheaded by Derek Jeter. And I think you're starting to see a lot of these moves get made because of what happened the last 2 years. Cubs went through a rebuild, and they got to a World Series and won it. And then the Astros go through a rebuild, get to the World Series and win it. But there was an interesting little spat here between Bryce Harper and Don Mattingly. Bryce Harper talked about, I can't believe they did this. I thought they had a great team, great outfielders. All they were was a pitcher or two away from making a serious run. That's what he said. And Don Mattingly had some advice, I guess, for Bryce Harper. He says, focus on your own team and don't worry about us, essentially, is what he said. And what is your opinion on this?
I think Mattingly was correct on this. I think with Bryce, as a player, you need to worry about your own stuff. I don't want to say he fully stepped out of line. Like, everyone's got the right to their own opinion. But for Harper to say that, it's like, okay, you don't have the pedigree, the credentials, I guess, to just say that. If you're the owner, GM, yeah, okay, whatever. That's fine to give your criticism. But as a player, I don't know. I don't know what he was trying to get at. To me, I would have been like, bite your tongue, Harper. Like, what are you doing? Because it gives a sense of negativity in a sense. Because it's like, then are you fully focused on your own team?
Here's the thing. So, like, yes, is there concern like Bryce Harper hasn't won yet? And I think you can make that argument. He hasn't won. So that's important to think of too. But my other thing is like, we as sports media people, we as journalists, as broadcasters, as writers, we always get frustrated, do we not, when athletes and when these figures go, no comment, or I don't want to talk about that. We get frustrated with that, right?
No, I agree.
And it's these types of situations is why. Bryce Harper didn't have to talk about the Marlins and didn't have to talk about their implosion. And I don't know exactly what the question was that was asked, or if it was even asked. If maybe he just went out of his way, and if he did, then yes, he's in the wrong. But if this, like, you understand, you start to understand, because now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Don Mattingly's angry at Bryce Harper, and it really shouldn't have been a story. It shouldn't have.
Right. Even with that, it's such a, as media people, it's such a double-edged sword, because like you said, when, you don't want the same boring answers. You like that, like, if you're the person that got this quote from Bryce Harper, you actually like that because it gives you attention. Yeah, exactly. It's a click thing. But yeah, and then like you said, it's a double-edged sword, because you get the clicks, and then then you have the other people who are involved get all pissy at each other, and then it's a back and forth debate.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. But I think Bryce Harper's let him talk. If he wants to talk, he can talk. I think Don Mattingly is frustrated. I think that's what this part of this is. I think Don Mattingly is frustrated that it comes out he's losing all his. Is he going to survive this rebuild? Probably not. Is he going to keep his job through this rebuild? That is the most unfair thing in sports.
Yeah.
For these franchises that go through a rebuild, and the manager or the coach, it could be their last job.
Yeah. I will say real quick, what it reminds me of is Moneyball. For those of you who haven't seen it, it deals with Oakland Athletics.
Absolutely.
It's it's when
that's what all of this is now.
Yeah. It's when Billy Beane gets rid of all of his star, Giambi, all these other players, and people are like, what are you doing? Like, the manager gets all upset about it. And it's the exact same thing of, it's that frustration of, you're taking my talents away. What am I supposed to do here?
Absolutely, Chris. And that is the reason we're seeing this. What the Athletics did is the reason. Analytics are a big prevalent thing nowadays in Major League Baseball, and that's just the world we're living in now. A lot of the decisions, even coming down to like lineup cards, are made from the GM. They're made from the top down, and that's the way they run their organizations now. That's why you see a guy like Joe Girardi, a great manager. That's why you see him with no job right now. Yeah. Because you start to have these head-to-heads with the higher ups, and that's just not how they're running organizations now. So that's the way it is. I do think some teams have made some good moves. We'll see if it works out for the Marlins. Well, we got to catch a break. When we come back, we'll be talking the biggest story in college basketball. A school is going to be losing a manager, and more than 100 wins. We'll get you caught up on that. We'll be right back on OSU Student Radio, KXZY. Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building at Oklahoma State University. Chris, there we see Rick Pitino. Some news about Louisville basketball. Again, folks, you're watching on channel 112 on Suddenlink, YouTube Live, Border Battle On Demand, or Facebook.com/Border Battle Show, or listening to us on KXZY, OSU Student Radio. We appreciate any of you that are watching or listening today, this cold day here in Oklahoma, but we appreciate you. Hopefully our hot takes are warming you up. I don't know. I was up a creek without a paddle there, Chris. That's on me.
Oh.
Let's talk about this Louisville situation, Chris. I'm going to read you a quote from Kevin Ware, former player. He had that horrific injury when they did win this title. He said, "It's dumb. At the end of the day, the mistakes that Andre McGee made didn't have to do with us. The NCAA is a joke." Now, whether or not we agree with those last 5 words, the NCAA is a joke, because I tend to agree with that. But whether or not we agree with that, Chris, this punishment, which ends up being stripped of 2 Final Fours, stripped of a national championship, bring the banner down, and the 123 wins, and then some fines as well for money they got making the NCAA tournament. Is this a justified punishment?
I think so. Just for everything that's gone on. The thing that's most frustrating, and I get it, you don't want to open the floodgates, but at the same time, like, Pitino just needs to just own up after a while. Like, and again, I'm not, I don't know all the facts. I'm not fully.
Here's the thing about this. This is only the beginning, because this is not related to the FBI investigation.
Right.
This is not at all related to that investigation. This is due to the hiring of escorts, or however you want to describe what was going on at Louisville, the hiring of them for recruiting purposes or player purposes or whatever it was. And but the NCAA Infractions Committee denied the appeal. And now, whether you want to say this is an unjustified or justified thing, this is when you compare it to, like, say, a North Carolina thing. Anyone could take those North Carolina classes. And I'm not, again, last week I completely said that North Carolina should have been, they were at fault, they should have been punished. Anyone could have taken those North Carolina classes. Were these women made available to everyone on campus?
No.
No. Louisville basketball. And, this is something that, if you look at this just on the face, you look at this and you say, well, but they didn't cheat on the court. Oh, well, but they weren't keeping guys eligible academically. That's garbage. Don't tell me that just because the one assistant coach was doing this, that it automatically makes it all okay for the program. Don't tell me that. Because when you look at this, what we talk about in these are student athletes, right?
Right.
I think the whole thing that was going on at Louisville, and now we're finding out more. We're finding out potential pay for play. We're finding out all of this stuff, Chris, and you can't be doing it. You can't be doing it. And if this is what like I said, when this investigation started, if this is what has to happen to clean up NCAA basketball, then good. It's a long time coming. And I know this isn't part of the big pay-for-play scandal, but this is tied into it. It's a legal activity. It's stuff that's not supposed to be going on at your campus, not with your basketball program. And it was. So sorry, Kevin Ware. You can keep your fat bleep rings that you tweet about. But I'm sorry, you can say you're national champions. You are. Congratulations. You're national champions. You are. Rick Pitino isn't.
No.
His staff isn't. This school is not. Kevin Ware, you and the team, you can be national champions. Louisville can't. They cannot hang a banner up. You can keep your rings. I don't mind it. But no, not the program. Program should not be able to claim this win.
No, and I totally agree. It's ridiculous. And this whole Rick Pitino wanting to sue the school now because of his contract breach and all that stuff. I'm like, you were the whole, not fully just him, like it was a bunch of people, but you gotta I don't know. The thing is, it's so frustrating, I think, and it's showing also that the NCAA needs to get their own stuff figured out as well.
Absolutely.
They need to, with this is the first of many, I think. I don't think this will be the last time this happens. I think as this, dives in, more of this investigation, all this stuff, I think there's going to be a few more, maybe not as bad as what Louisville did, but
and again, this isn't even part of that.
Right.
This is prior to them.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, with all this punishment the NCAA is diving out now, they've got to stick to it.
Absolutely. And they will.
Right, and we talked. It'll be interesting. Let's say 10 years from now, let's see how many past coaches or whatever all of a sudden it comes out like, oh, they did this, and this. We were talking about that the other day. It's, I don't know. Something needs to be done, and obviously they're working on it. But
Chris, something that I find interesting, intriguing, maybe a coincidence, but I tend to think not. Since this FBI investigation into college basketball, Chris, have we seen a difference in the NCAA's punishing? Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
We see this. We see what happened to Notre Dame football. All since this FBI scandal comes out. Why? Because the NCAA realized that, guess what? We're not doing the FBI came in to show us how crappy of a job we're doing at what we're supposed to be doing. Policing the athletics that are making us billions of dollars. And we can't police them? And it comes down to the FBI having to come in and do however many year-long sting operation on coaches and wiretaps and thousands of minutes of wiretapping phones and conversations and stuff like that. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
I think it's a wake-up call for the NCAA, and I think for the right reasons, we're starting to see this.
No, I totally agree. I was just going to add to that. It's a ticking time bomb. That's what it always had been. And the NCAA kept putting it aside, like, oh, no, we're good, whatever. And then, like you said, the FBI comes along and they're like, hey, you ain't going to do your job, so we will. And, now that bomb's starting to reach the end of its ticking clock, and, now it's NCAA is shaking stuff up, which at the same point, it's sad that the FBI is the reason for the NCAA actually finally doing their job.
Yeah, it is sad.
That's probably the worst part of it is like the NCAA, like what are you guys doing? Like I get like it's all about the money, and I understand those industries, it's dollar signs, that's all they see. But at the same time, you have to think about the longevity of of some of these players, like the distress that some of these are probably some of these Louisville players are probably going to go through because of stuff that maybe they didn't even have a part of. Players around the team.
Here's the thing about it: people say, "Well, why punish them? Why punish these kids now?" This is the absolutely correct thing to do. You take away the wins from when this was happening. Why punish the kids that are recruited there now? In 2018, why say you can't go to the NCAA tournament because Rick Pitino allowed a coach 5 years ago, 6 years ago to do this? That's garbage too.
Right.
That's even more garbage. So, in my opinion, they got this right. They got it spot on. You take away the wins. You take away anything. By the way, now this affects Rick Pitino's career wins. Not that it matters, because for some reason we elect collegiate basketball coaches into the Basketball Hall of Fame. Rick Pitino enshrined into the Basketball Hall of Fame. I wonder if that's the message the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame is trying to send. I don't know. I'm just saying, it's interesting that they get elected so soon, because you see this. What if by some way Tom Izzo is connected to something at Michigan State? I'm not saying he is. I am not saying he is, but I'm saying there's investigations going on at Michigan State. What if he's tied to them in some way? He's already in the Basketball Hall of Fame. All of a sudden, you start to realize, man, maybe it's not such a good idea to elect these guys into the Hall of Fame while they're still coaching, while we don't know everything about their career yet.
Right. Which is weird in a sense, like you said, with college basketball coaches that are still coaching and they're they're already enshrined, when it's like, well, you haven't finished your career yet as a coach. And like you said, you don't know what could come up. If anything, now the Hall of Fame, they're going to deal with kind of like what MLB is with the steroid thing. Now this is what they have to watch for. Because like you said, Pitino's in there. If all of a sudden something were to come up with Izzo, he's in there. Yeah.
And again, we want to stress if.
Right, if,
There's nothing
yeah.
about Tom Izzo yet, so we want to stress that for sure. But yeah, this is just, it's good. It's good. Like I said, it's going to be hard for programs because I think it's going to touch just about every program in the country, and it's going to be tough to see. It'll be a tough pill for fans to swallow, but it is what it is, and it's good for college basketball. This needed to happen.
Oh yeah, they needed a shakeup. They needed it to happen. They needed it now. And something that would be interesting to see is how these players would react with Coach Pitino now if they saw him. And like you said, I don't know if I'm so much for these players now. Like you said, that are there that were recruited. Now they can't go to the tournament and stuff.
No, that's not part of the punishment.
Oh, it's not? Okay,
no,
sorry.
That's what I
mistook
said.
you.
That's why I said that's how it should be.
Right.
Don't punish the guys now. Punish the guys back then. They did it right.
Totally agree.
They hit it nail on the head. Real quick, Chris, before we get to break here, I want to talk about, speaking of Pitino, Richard Pitino, his son, head coach of the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Your Gophers came to the Kohl Center, kind of choked it away a little bit, and lost to my Wisconsin Badgers. Were you impressed, though, with what you saw from Minnesota? Because I think I was more impressed with Minnesota than Wisconsin.
Oh, for sure. For the amount of beatdowns they've been taking the past however many games, no, I totally agree. I think they showed some fight. They showed some resiliency that has been missing for a long time, to say the least. So yeah, it was a good thing. I mean, they kept Hap scoreless in the first half, which has not happened in quite a while. So they did a good job. But then who beat them? A Minnesota kid started doing damage in overtime. Like, it all goes back to this whole we can't keep our own stars in the state.
Brad Davison is going to be one heck of a player, Chris. He is going to be one heck of a player. You know what you thought about when you think Robbie Hummels? What'd you always think? Man, that
overrated.
That guy's been in college for 8 years. Josh Gosser, what'd you think about him? How long has that dude been in college? You're going to be saying that when Brad Davison's a senior.
Also, Bronson Koenig. He was another one. I was like, he's still in school. Trevor Mbakwe, granted, Mbakwe had injuries back when he played for the Gophers. It was the same thing, but
yeah. And now Robbie Hummels did have 6 years in college because he had a medical red shirt and his regular red shirt, so he was almost there for 8 years. But you got him. All of these players Grayson Allen, let's throw him in there too. Players that just absolutely get under the skin of the opponents. Brad Davison's one of them guys, and it's going to be tough for Minnesota to watch because for the next however many years, him and Reavers too. Reavers is a good player from Minnesota. Those two, I think, are going to be really nice players for Wisconsin, and I think it's going to lead to a little bit of regret from Richard Pitino that he can't seem to recruit anyone.
Well, and then now another thing what kind of scares me as a Gophers fan, how is this going to affect recruiting because of Richard Pitino's dad? Like, yeah. I would hope it doesn't follow him around like a dark cloud, which I think partially it's going to, but you kind of wonder with that too, if how that's going to end up.
Yeah, I wonder about it. I hope it doesn't, like you said, but we'll see. He hasn't been totally spotless either with what happened with Reggie Lynch, and you wonder how much, if at all, he knew about that. So
right.
We got to take a quick break. When we come back, should NFL execs be concerned with the conduct of a certain draft prospect? We'll talk about that. Plus, what will the Colts offense look like this season? We'll be right back to break that all down. This is OSU Student Radio. This is the Border Battle on KXZY.
Hi, I'm Gina Noble, and I'm the mayor of Stillwater, Oklahoma. Stillwater, Oklahoma is anything but still. We are a vibrant community, and we are conveniently located near Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Wichita, Kansas. We're the home of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and we serve as the cultural, economic, and athletic hub for North Central Oklahoma. In fact, several Quality of Life magazines have recognized Stillwater as one of the nation's 100 top places to live and one of the best places to golf. Established in the land run in 1889, Stillwater is a safe, vibrant community. It boasts a great educational system from K through 12, all the way up to our world-class university, Oklahoma State University. We have an exceptional downtown with a strong entrepreneurial spirit, numerous city parks and trails, and our medical resources are second to none. Stillwater is a wonderful place to begin your career, to start a business, to raise a family, or to retire. We invite you to visit Stillwater because we are anything but still.
Think you're not involved in your community? Think again. Spending your money with local businesses is more than an economic choice. It's a way you can have a say in the look and feel of your hometown. This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in Paul Miller Journalism Building at Oklahoma State University. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live on demand, Border Battle on Demand, or Facebook.com/Border Battle Show, or OSU Student Radio KXCY. Chris, saw there Jim Irsay very happy, obviously, to have Frank Reich as the head coach. We'll get to him in a second. First, I want to talk about a polarizing player in the NFL. Goes by the name of Baker Mayfield, Chris, or as he told Dick Vitale, some people are calling him Broadway Baker if he goes to New York. Interesting. Should teams be concerned with his antics, Chris?
I think a little. I think they should have some concern. I don't know if it's, if it's something that should, radar should be going off, emergency radar type of thing, but it's definitely something you need to, to keep watch of the past antics that he has done, especially with this past year. But at the same time, I don't think it should fully hinder him. It's not like yes, the whole arrest in Arkansas, like I get that, and that's where the whole Johnny Manziel comparison came from. But it's just antics he's done on the field. I don't know. I don't think it's as big of a concern as maybe people think it is.
Not on the field, off the field.
Well, I'm saying he's off the field, like the planting of the flag at Ohio State.
I don't mind any of that.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't think so.
Do you care that in a press conference this weekend, somehow he was given a podium in the press conference room, which is kind of a weird setup, but we'll let OU do what they do. He said, I hate Texas. People telling me to calm it down. I'm not going to do it for Texas. So what is Baker Mayfield going to calm it down for, and should he calm it down? That's my question.
So you're asking me if him saying the stuff about Texas was good or bad?
Bad. I think it's bad. What do you think?
Hey, if he has
NFL teams in his ear telling him to tone it down.
Like, with that sense, yes, he needs to tone it down. But his whole beef with Texas or whatever it is, the state, whatever. Hey,
I have no problem.
Like, I don't have an issue with that. He walked on as Texas Tech and then he went to Oklahoma. Like, whatever personal vendettas he has against Texas, you have a right to speak out. So yes, you need to take advice from GMs, owners of professional teams that are looking to draft you. Like, you need to take that into account. But at the same time, I don't know, let him get his 2 cents in every once in a while.
Yeah, I don't care as much about saying that, but when you go through a timeout and you're going like this to the crowd, is that really what you think people want to see?
No.
Because I think that speaks to immaturity. Yeah. I don't think that speaks to a chip on your shoulder, because I want to make this distinction. I like Baker with a chip on his shoulder. I like players with a chip on his shoulder. I don't like immature, players, okay? I don't like dudes that act like they're still 18 years old. And that's what Baker acts like. I'm sorry, he does.
Right, and I think about the issue, I'm not going to defend him with that, the horns down, all that stuff to the crowd, because this is your job. You are potentially, you're applying for a job, so to speak.
Yes,
you need
absolutely.
to be a professional on the field, especially, don't absurd gestures to fans, whatever. Like, you can point if you score a touchdown,
don't grab
whatever.
Your junk.
Yeah, exactly. But now I feel like I've lost where I was going with this.
I'm sorry, I messed you up.
No, you're good. But this sense of, I think sometimes too, with him being such a high energy guy, and again, I'm not saying defending his immaturity thing. I'm not doing that, but I think sometimes Zach gets part of it. He gets so hyped up that he's not thinking before he speaks. He's so hyped up. So he's got his energy. So he's going to do the horns down to the crowd or whatever, or the,
and like you can get, by the way, you have
to hold that back. I get it. You have to be able to, hold in some of that. And I understand that, but at the same time, if he can't control his fiery passion for the game or his competitiveness, you have to figure out, do you take the poison pill, so to speak, and, do you try and be like, hey, you can't show emotion? Like, what do you...
No, I'm not saying you can't show emotion. I'm saying there's way to hype up the Lloyd Noble Center without doing this and sprinting around the court like a madman. There's ways to do it other than that.
Maybe that's all he knows.
I know, Chris. I get that. I understand that. But there comes a time. Guess what? When I was 17, 18 years old, I was still doing stupid stuff because guess what? It's all I knew. Did I have to get rid of that? Do I have to get rid of that before I get a real man, big boy, put on my big boy pants, put on the overalls, Chris? Do I have to get rid of some of that stuff before I get a job?
No.
In the real world? Yes, I do.
As long as, hey, if it's something that you're doing on your own time, the thing is, it's so different because the NFL is like you're always watched.
You have an image, no matter what profession you're in. You have an image. Whether it be with your coworkers, the public, your family, whatever it is, you have an image.
To an extent, yes.
Yes, and you have to at some point, especially when you're a celebrity and when you're going to be one of the most popular people in that city, you have to give up some of this stupid stuff. You have to give up all you know. Because if all you know is working hard and doing what J.J. Watt does, which do I believe J.J. Watt kind of, does he post more stuff on Instagram than he needs to about him working out? Absolutely. Absolutely. He has this macho man sort of persona that he's created by posting a lot of workout videos. But is he a hard worker? Absolutely he is. There's no denying that. You see from where he came from, a walk-on at Wisconsin, to being the best player in this era defensively for a lot of people. And you see that transformation. He obviously is a hard worker. So you have to, if that's your persona, if that's all you know is working hard, fine, you can do that. It's things that are negative to your personality, things that are negative to your image, that you have to try to tone down a little bit. Like, right. That's like saying, Johnny Manziel, we know you like to go out and party, but that's all you know. So continue to do it in the NFL. How'd it work out for him?
Yeah, he was out in 2 years.
Out in 2 years. Now he can't. He's trying to play like
Canadian
football or XFL. That's where he's going to be now. So, like, I understand, like, there's this, you can't act like someone you're not, but to a certain extent, when you're in the public image and when you're leading an NFL franchise that's paying you millions and millions of dollars, you have to clean it up in some way. Is that fair to say, at least? It
is. So let me ask you this, then. Is it fair for, let's say, Johnny Manziel, for instance, for his whole partying thing, and I don't want to get too much into this, but is it fair for execs not to really give him a second chance because they're so concerned with his behavior? Has it changed? Has it not? Like, because sometimes I feel when these players, like what Johnny's going through, I get it, like RG3 has a whole attitude issue and stuff.
You don't want distractions on your team.
Right. But, now Manziel was in the league for 2 years. He's been out for, 2 as well, right? Something like that, give or take. Is it fair then to be like, okay, you know what? We don't trust he's changed. Like, you blew your chance.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely, that's fair.
So you don't think a person should get another chance?
No. You cannot play with someone else's millions of dollars and give it to someone because you think they've changed. If an NFL exec says, okay, fine, we buy into your change, fine, they can do it. But I'm not paying him millions of dollars and saying, you know what? You said you've changed. It looks like you changed. Here's $1 million. Here's your 2-year, $14 million contract. Is that outrageous to say?
You're saying it's too big of a risk because, like you said, with the amount of money. If it was, a couple $100,000 or whatever, it'd be a little different, I guess. To me, anyways. Yeah. Which it also kind of shows the issues with NFL contracts compared to other sports. Because, in NBA, if you're like someone on the bench, you only get like $750,000 a year, maybe, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That was.
So, I mean, let's look at where Baker's going to get drafted. And these are early mock drafts. These are going to change as we go into free agency and stuff. But, 3rd overall, that's like that. I don't really like that mock draft because it has trades involved, and I think mock drafts that involve trades are stupid. But he has the Redskins coming up and trading to get him 3rd overall to learn behind Alex Smith for a couple of years. Then you have a couple 6th overall. That's to the Jets. 4th overall, that would be to the Browns. And then 21st overall, that would be to the Bills. So, like, here's my thing about Baker. Baker, you're going to end up in 21st overall or later if you keep this up. You just are. Because I understand that there's so many quarterbacks out there and you want to get a young one and all of this. The draft's the best way to get a quarterback. I understand that. But you have to remember, Kirk Cousins is out there. Nick Foles is maybe out there if you want to trade. Case Keenum's out there. He just took his team to the NFC Championship game. I know that these aren't like premier quarterbacks, but they're less of a risk than drafting Baker Mayfield, aren't they?
No, yeah. And I think to your point with the whole financial thing is Baker, you got to realize this is their pick. You know, like if it's a third, you know, a number 3 pick in the first round, like this is a lot of money at stake, you know, a lot of hype. If you're, no one wants to risk a third, you know, their 3rd pick on a potential distraction that's going to just blow everything up.
Exactly.
But I think he's going to fall like the 21st, and that I think he might kind of like, I think Johnny
Manziel was like 24.
20, or 22, so yeah, in the 20s. So I could possibly see that because, like you said, that which organization is going to want to take that risk a number 3, number 6 even pick on.
I think he'll get drafted in the top 5.
You do?
Unless he continues doing stupid stuff, I think he's going to be a top 5 draft pick. And I think that's why he's got to clean it up. Because as soon as you get into camp, like I said yesterday, if you're playing the Denver Broncos and you run off the field going like this, Von Miller is going to make it his personal vendetta to ruin you in the next possession.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way NFL works. You show me up, get ready.
It's a respect thing.
Get ready. Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not showing your opponent respect, especially as you're a 22-year-old, 23-year-old rookie, you're going to run into problems in this league. You just are. That's the way it is. So we got to talk for just a second about Frank Reich. He comes out and talks at his introductory press conference, and he's talking to the media, and they're like, well, you're going to call plays because he's an offensive-minded guy. Never called plays at Philly. Obviously, that was done by Doug Peterson. And he said, yes. I put a question mark at the end of that because he's like, it's going to be a collaborative effort, but you need one voice. So it comes down to there's got to be one voice. I'll be that voice calling it on game day, but it'll be a collaborative effort. He's talking about like putting together the game plan, stuff like that. So are you okay with this, Chris? Because here's my problem with this. It seems a little wishy-washy. If you're my head coach, I want you to say, I'm calling plays. It's my fault if it's wrong. I want it to be like Andy Reid. If I'm not even calling plays, I want you to defend Matt Nagy. Hey, or is it Matt Nagy? I believe.
Yeah.
Bill
yep,
Nagy.
Yep.
Whatever it is. Yeah.
Like
the new Bears coach, where he'll inevitably slip off in an anonymous nature. Anyways, after that Titans game, what did Andy Reid come out and say? They said, well, were you okay with the play calling from Matt Nagy? And he goes, the good plays were called by him. The bad plays were called by me. That's what you want from your head coach. And that's what I wanted from Frank Reich right here. Look, if you have a problem with play calling, it's me. I'm calling plays, no one else. Here he's saying, yeah, but it's a collaborative effort.
Right, so it's a shit. And I don't know if it's saying because...
To me, it just looks like he's already pawning off blame a little bit.
Yeah, but I think part of it is because that's all he knows is he was an OC. I think he's trying to still feel, he's got a new offensive coordinator and Nick Sirianni as well. That I think it's just he's trying to figure out, okay, how does he be a head coach but yet be an OC? Like, I think he's just stuck in that realm at the same time. I think that's part of his issue.
Yeah, I think so, and I think I hope for the Colts' sake he's not like just drunk on this new power and saying like, look, it worked for Doug Peterson in Philly, and that's where I was. It worked for him to call plays, so that automatically means that I should be able to call plays as well. So we'll see if that works out that way for him. I'm excited to see what happens, especially if Andrew Luck is healthy next season. That's going to be a fun division to watch. Young players, good quarterbacks. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. OU decided to end a 70-year tradition. We're going to tell you what it was and what it means for the Bedlam rivalry. We'll make sense of all that next on the Border Battle on KXZY.
What is arts and sciences?
We aren't all about the arts.
We like to think of ourselves as explorers.
From exploring the human mind
to discerning the building blocks of the universe.
We don't just read books.
We don't just sit in the classroom.
And we don't just solve problems.
We seek to give everyone a voice.
In a variety of approaches.
We tackle the big issues.
By understanding complex social structures.
And even understand the small ones.
We take passions to new heights.
But stay grounded.
We tell stories.
Of the past.
Of the present.
And work to predict the future.
We like to think with a little preparation. Some dirt under the fingernails.
And some self-analysis. You can do anything.
With nearly 100 degree plans to choose from.
Where will your arts and science degree take you?
Connect, achieve, succeed.
To our neighbors and friends, we come to you today to let you know what's on our hearts. Because you're the reason what we do is so much more meaningful than a job. The reason we believe in the power of investing in tomorrow and the power of community. So this is simply thank you. As we step boldly into a time of growth and change, consider this our promise that every investment in our hospital is an investment in our communities.
This spring, I invite you to shop in downtown Stillwater. Downtown Stillwater is home to locally owned shops, boutiques, eateries, and dependable professionals that you can trust. Find the perfect gift for your graduate, have a delicious meal with mom, or just stop in to enjoy great spring savings. By creating a demand for local goods and services, you can ensure a place for the local businesses that help give our community character and keep it unique. On behalf of Downtown Stillwater, thank you for shopping local.
Welcome back into Studio 318 here in the Paul Miller Journalism Building at Oklahoma State University. You're listening to the Border Battle with King and CJ on OSU Student Radio KXCY, Suddenlink Channel 112, YouTube Live, Border Battle On Demand, or Facebook.com/Border Battle Show. I love, you know what? One of my favorite things to do in relation to Oklahoma State sports is I wish they would just have a camera trained on John Smith on the sideline. I love that guy. He is wrestling every turn with those OSU wrestlers. He is so fun to watch.
Yeah, he's living the experience all over again.
Absolutely.
Match after match.
I guess you get to do that when you're a world champion and one of the greatest wrestlers this planet has ever seen in John Smith. Well, John Smith has built something of a powerhouse here at Oklahoma State. Just about one or two in the country almost every year. They're a top 3 team, it seems like. Seems like forever. And OU obviously not happy about that, Chris. This article I saw on Twitter from Barry Trammell, it's a column actually, that Barry Trammell wrote about OU limiting Bedlam to one match this year, and it looks like one match next year for wrestling. Do you have a problem with OU doing this? And this is, trust me, man, I know I'm lobbing this up to you for the slam dunk, but
yeah, no, this is ridiculous. Like, to me, if anything, as the coach, it's showing you. I don't know, you're a sore loser. You're afraid of that. That would be literally like if Mike Gundy was like, "Sorry, we don't want to do Bedlam anymore because this year's it's like 87-18." Like that'd be the same thing. That OU's leading that. Like, why would you change this? Because you're sick of always getting beat down left and right? Like, what? To me, if anything, what are you showing your players by doing this and your fan base? Like, oh, sorry, I don't trust the team I've built here and brought in and recruited, so we're just going to do one Bedlam now because we're trying to win the Bedlam series overall. And so if we're giving them 2 free wins with wrestling, we got to take one away to make sure that doesn't happen.
I don't think that's what this is. I don't think it comes down to the Bedlam overall ranking. I think this is just a coach that's sick of getting beat.
Well, grow up. Like,
absolutely. No, absolutely, like, Chris. Absolutely.
Ridiculous.
I'm with you here. I am with you here. But what I'm saying is this is a coach that obviously doesn't recognize the tradition.
Yeah.
This has been going on since like 1948, Chris. 1948.
Right.
And all of a sudden we're going to stop it. I just don't understand this. I don't understand it, Chris. And it's like I get it. You can't really. It's hard to compare this to anything because you can't compare it to football because that's a conference mandated game. Can't compare it to basketball because you have to play 2 there for the conference. But let's say in basketball you were only required to play 1 conference game, and the other one you had to schedule as a non-conference. But you had a tradition with OU of doing that. By the way, they do this in soccer as well. I believe they schedule non-conference in soccer because this year, as you remember, we went down to the soccer team went to OU to start one of their first games of the season, non-conference game. Non-conference game.
It was Bedlam, but it was a non-conference.
Absolutely, can still be Bedlam non-conference. So they go down there. We send our soccer team down there, beat them, and we beat them here. But I'm sure we only played that game. Coach Carmichael only scheduled that game, right? Because he must have only done that because he knew they were going to win, right? Yeah. No! He did it because it's tradition.
Yeah.
I don't understand this. I don't understand this. So just because you're getting your teeth kicked in a sport, and that's what's happening here, by the way. Let me see if I can find on Trammell's article here what the Bedlam series is. 140, 27, and 10. That's what OSU is against OU. And you're getting your teeth kicked in.
Yeah.
You don't like it?
Deal with it.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
It's called sports. Don't take your ball and go home. Don't cry about it. Don't pout about it. Stand up and fight. Isn't that what wrestling is after all?
No, I totally agree. I think if anything, he needs to, use this as motivation. Okay, we need to recruit, man. We need to, something, and I don't know if it's because
if I'm John Smith now, if I'm John Smith, I want every one of my guys next year to go down to Norman and pin every single one of them. Let's win. Let's beat them 76-0.
Right. Let's humiliate you even more than if you're going to do that.
We only get one shot at it.
Yeah. Give them our all.
It's just, if you're John Smith, you have to be sitting back in your office just laughing. You just have to have a grin on your face for this. Because this is bigger than any win you could have had. Yeah. Forcing them to go to one game, one match, forcing that to happen?
And I don't know, and I know not all coaches that coach all of our athletic sports here, are from that graduate from here. I know we have a few that do.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because, Coach Lou for OU didn't go to OU, if that's part of it, because I know he came from Ohio State after, that's where he was coaching before he came here.
And that's
which is crazy because Ohio State's good at wrestling.
Great wrestling. Tradition.
Was he so used to winning in the Big Ten that he's like, I'm going to go to the Big 12 and take on John Smith, one of the best?
I don't know what his record was in the Big Ten, Chris, but I guarantee he probably wasn't winning that much.
Well, he's probably beating Wisconsin if they had a team.
Beating Wisconsin for sure. Go ahead. You can beat Wisconsin. Beat Minnesota. That's fine. Beat
Minnesota,
Iowa.
You're not even getting in the
Chris, the best team in the Big Ten when it comes down to tradition is Penn State.
Oh, for sure.
So I don't know why. Why do you bring in Wisconsin into this? Wisconsin. I can bring in Minnesota into this too, Chris.
Yeah, but
neither one of them are as good as Ohio State.
I'm not even going to get in you with that. Nope.
Now
you poke the bear.
Tell me.
Minnesota was ranked 5th or 6th in the beginning of this year for wrestling. Where was Wisconsin?
I don't care, Chris. That's not the argument.
Yeah, but you're saying that Wisconsin and Minnesota are both garbage compared to Ohio State.
They are. They're worse than Ohio State.
Are you kidding me?
They're worse than Ohio State.
I'm pretty sure. I would love to see what the match was at Ohio State against Minnesota if they've played yet.
Chris, I'll look up.
Look that up. Please do.
I'll look it up right now. It's what I'm saying is when you talk about Ohio State is a program of rich tradition. So him coming to here, it should not be an argument that, well, he doesn't understand it. This is a nationally known thing. Bedlam is nationally known. Right. When you talk to Bedlam, when you say Bedlam in Wisconsin, I knew what it meant before I came here. People know what Bedlam means outside of the state of Oklahoma. It's not a localized thing. It's not something you have to be localized to. Not something that you have to be trained to learn about. No, Bedlam, OU, Oklahoma State, I-35, whatever it is, 70 miles, boom. That's the rivalry, Chris.
Yeah, no.
And you're throwing it in the trash can.
Well, I'm not.
No, not you. Not you. Not you.
Sorry, that's good.
Good heavens,
I will say, I did look. We did get beat 31-7.
31-7. It's like an OSU score. Oh, it is OSU, Ohio State. That's like an Oklahoma State score, dude.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, that's just like that took the steam. I was really hoping they like would have at least been
and
close.
I'm not saying
like,
Minnesota isn't a good wrestling program because they are.
Right.
They are. I'm just saying Ohio State's better. I rest my
I'm
case.
not admitting defeat, but
I rest my case, Chris. That's enough for you today. All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We hope you have a great day. CJ and I next Friday are heading out to New York. Excited for that. So starting Friday, we're going to get start training our replacements a little bit.
Yep.
So I'll take the day off Friday. We'll have Logan in here with Chris. And you aren't going to miss that one. They'll have a preview of the weekend of all the sports here at OSU and plenty of more. Join us Friday for all of that. For CJ, great crew around here, I'm King. Thank you so much for joining us on the Border Battle on OSU Student Radio KXZY.